What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Restoration Rundown Podcast, the podcast that is dedicated to you, the restoration business owner. Today, we're going to be kicking off part 2 of our 3-part series on how to set your restoration business up for success by protecting your digital brand assets. All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to part 2 of the How to Set Your Restoration Business Up for Success by Protecting Your Branded Digital Assets. And if you watched the video part 1, we talked about what branded digital assets actually are and how they're one of the most important and valuable pieces of your business, especially nowadays with the digital landscape and the nature of how people are finding businesses, especially restoration contractors out there. And your branded digital assets are really self-explanatory. They're anything that's a digital asset, like a Facebook page or social media page or your website that's branded with your business's identity, okay? And we talked about how you need to set these up yourself to protect yourself from anybody holding you hostage for your kind of content, or even worse, a competition stealing your brand identity. And we see this all the time. I mentioned in the last video that we talk to 20 or 30 different restoration contractors in the US and Canada on a monthly basis, and I would say a good majority of them have run into these types of issues before, where they're either lose an employee that set these accounts up for them and they have no access to anything, or they've hired a digital agency that's done a website and done all this content and SEO, and when they're not getting the results that they're supposed to be getting and they fire these agencies hold them hostage with either their domain name or, even worse, their website and all their content. So you really start over from scratch, and it can get even worse from there. So today we're going to show you, we're going to talk about your domain and your website and kind of how to set yourself up properly. And then we're going to run into part 3 where we're going to talk about your social media accounts, Google Business, and things like that. So we're going to jump right into it. Your website's domain. So, we've done webinars before about setting up your, website and your domain, and really, your domain is step 1, right? So it's like picking a business name. Picking a domain name is huge, but you got to remember a couple things. If you're doing SEO, which you should be if you're a restoration contractor and you have a website, you're building authority to a domain name, okay? So from a branding perspective, it's important to have a brand that matches what your business name is. So, you want to look into things like that. But from the beginning, you want to make sure that you are setting up your own domain registrar account. And a domain registrar is simply just a reseller of domains like GoDaddy. We actually use HXC hosting here at Ironclad Restoration Marketing. Any reputable domain registrar is fine, but the bigger, more important thing is you need to make sure you're setting up those accounts with your email, your phone numbers, your contact information, and you're not giving those keys to anybody at all. And again, I've seen so many times, so many clients let their neighbor's kids set up their domain, let them set up an account on somebody else's GoDaddy, or they have an agency who sets them up. And there's a lot of big agencies out there that many of you may have worked with that do this. And then when you go to fire them or the business relationship goes away, guess what? Your domain goes away as well. And you got to remember, your domain ownership is overseen by ICANN, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, and it is extremely serious. This oversight, if somebody else owns your domain, let's say that their name is on it, and they want to keep it, or even if it's your own business's name, like if somebody owned ironcladrestorationmarketing.com, there's no way I'm getting that domain unless it expires or they sell it to you, and it happens a lot. So you got to do a little bit of research when you're buying your domain. Couple quick things. When you do find a domain, try to buy it for a couple years, and make sure you set it to auto renew, and buy domain privacy. It's totally worth it. It hides all of your personal contact information. And just remember, hosting is very important because page speed is a ranking factor, especially with the latest update that was rolled out early this year. Google's really putting a lot of weight on your page speed and your overall user experience, okay? So, make sure you're setting up your own domain registrar account. On GoDaddy and a few other ones, you're actually able to allow people and grant them admin access, or they call it IT access. Just keep it all under your name, all under your email. Even if you're going to have a marketing company come in and build you a website, just own your domain, own your own GoDaddy account or your HXC account. Make sure you own the hosting. Don't ever hand that kind of stuff off to anybody at all, unless you fully trust them and you have the ultimate admin access, okay? So, a couple domain do's and don'ts, a little recap. So you want to keep your domain name short and sweet, okay? Don't want to have anything that's over the top long because one, you don't want people to misspell it. And two, I'm going to go right into this area here. You always want to use a third-party email service like G Suite or Office 365 to get your branded email. So basically, you buy your domain, ironcladrestorationmarketing.com, and then you sign up for G Suite. We use G Suite here, and you're able to actually have a Gmail account that's branded to your domain name, which is always the best. There's been, and I'm sure you've noticed this and seen the news, there's a lot of email hacking and email scams out there. So a lot of these big email third-party providers are not accepting webmail. And traditionally, a lot of people use webmail because it's free when you have hosting, but it's not an ideal way, one, to scale your business, and two, to send and receive emails. You just always end up having issues, especially if contact forms on your website and stuff like that. Always use G Suite. Office 365 is another great option. They're only like $6 a month per account. Again, domain name. So with email in mind, the last thing you want to do is somebody to misspell your email, right? So you want to keep it short and sweet. Try to stick around your business name. Play around with a couple different combinations, and you can actually just search them on GoDaddy or HXC hosting before you buy it. Don't worry about any domain name direct match. Back in the day, people used to buy things and marketers would do this, black hat guys. Best water damage restoration in Dallas.com, and they were able to enjoy a free ride on Google as far as the rankings go because it was considered a direct match domain name. That stuff is gone. They put the kibosh on that a long time ago, so don't worry about buying anything like that. It is not going to do you any favors. In fact, you're going to be building authority to your domain no matter what it is, and there's really no shortcut. There's no way around it. You have to do it the right way via SEO, pay-per-click, and your Google Business Management, okay? And that, again, stay away from hyphenations. It's just another thing that gives people an opportunity to misspell it. And again, do not ever let anybody buy a domain on your behalf unless it's on your registrar account, which has your name as the main admin with your email, your cell phone number, okay? You're better off allowing them to go in. They're more than welcome to go into your registrar account, set the domain up, set up the hosting, edit your zone records and things like that, set up your email, but make sure it's all yours and make sure you own it. You're paying the bills. Everything is copacetic there because, again, it's almost impossible to get your domain back. I mean, actually, it is impossible unless they let it expire, okay? Which, if it's a competitor, odds are they're not going to let it expire for like $11 a year. They're going to just leave that thing riding and they can do whatever they want. So it's an important branded asset, meaning your website. You want to make sure nobody else has access to it and you're in control of your brand identity, okay? So speaking of websites, your website nowadays is your virtual storefront. The nature of how people find businesses nowadays is typically on the web, and a good majority of the traffic is coming from a mobile device, okay? A couple things about your website. Again, make sure you own your domain. I can't stress that enough. We always talk about, let's use WordPress. WordPress allows you, it's very user-friendly, and it also allows you some flexibility as far as, even from an SEO perspective, it's very SEO friendly. But as far as user permissions, you're able to set and manage different users on your website based off what you want them to be able to access. So, always make sure that you have the highest level of admin access and that anybody you grant access to your website, you are monitoring what they're doing. Be careful giving anybody complete admin access to your website. It's very easy to make a lot of problems for you if you let somebody that you really don't know or trust have access to your stuff, especially when you get in a situation like if you're doing your marketing in-house and you hire an employee, they don't work out, they get fired, they're disgruntled, they go in and they just wipe your entire website out. You don't want to get into those situations, and it happens all the time. I think, 2 out of 2 times a month we deal with somebody that's dealing with that issue. We've even seen some of the bigger marketing agencies out there do things like that, where they are doing SEO for 5 or 6 months. They're really not doing it the right way. The business owner's not getting the results they want. They fire the marketing agency. The next guy, usually us, take it over. We, lo and behold, all that SEO work, all the stuff they were paying these guys for was deleted. Okay, it was attributed to a user. They wiped out the user, and they really put them in a bad position. Hosting as well. Make sure you're hosting your own sites, or you have complete admin access to it. Another big thing we see a lot here are when people move to another marketing agency, the hosting company shuts it down, and you're basically starting all over from scratch. Okay. Again, a couple quick little tidbits here. Make sure your site is mobile first. Google went to a mobile first indexing a couple years ago. Make sure you're monitoring the work that's been done. And another real big one here, just to protect yourself, make sure your website's staying updated. If you are using WordPress, which I strongly suggest, just because it's an easy to use CMS, it's SEO friendly, and basically you can bounce around and have anybody worth their salt in websites can manage and work on a WordPress site. So you got to make sure it stays updated. All your plugins, your WordPress installation, everything needs to be updated. One, because it's basically giving a backdoor to hackers to be able to take your website down, and it happens a lot. It's happened to us before, and that leads me to making sure you have a solid backup solution online and offline. And again, with WordPress, there are a ton of plugins out there to take backups and redundant backups of your website. You can download them right into your download files on your computer, just in case your website ever gets taken down, or you don't listen to my videos and you're letting somebody else control all your stuff. At least you have a backup of your website that if they take your hosting account over, for instance, you can move hosting as accounts, upload that website, and you're back in business relatively quickly. But again, if you don't own your domain and somebody else owns it, you're pretty much dead in the water. Okay. So you can check on all this stuff yourself. We have a free marketing checklist that is built just for restoration contractors. This is the checklist that we go through, and we actually preach to all of our clients to go through to make sure you're in the right direction. So it goes through everything from web design to making sure you have the proper to digital branded accounts. Okay, and you can download this checklist right on our website, ironcladrestorationmarketing.com. There's no strings. It's a free download. We just need your email, and then we send it over to you in an email, and you can start working through this checklist to make sure that you're set up properly. Okay, and again, all of this information, getting your domain set up, how to buy, how to build it, how to buy it, how to set up your website properly, how SEO works, every little thing is in the book that we talk about that I wrote early this year called the No BS Guide to Internet Marketing for Restoration Contractors, and it is available on Amazon, and there's a Kindle version. And if you're like a lot of guys out there in the restoration industry, you don't have time, let us help. All you need to do is send us over a DM, an email, give us a call. We're happy to help. We work with restoration companies anywhere in the United States and Canada. And my mission, my personal mission, and my company's mission here is we want to triple the sales of at least 1,000 restoration contractors before I'm ready to call it quits. And I just turned 38 years old, so I got a few years left in me. And we're hopefully going to be able to help a lot of restoration contractors out there because this is what we do. We can help you through any kind of problem. We've seen everything, and we have a lot of experience helping restoration companies get more leads and sales by just simply getting their internet marketing right. So stay tuned. Part 3 is coming up soon, and we're going to talk about your social media branded accounts. We're going to talk about your Google business accounts and everything else that is involved in that to make sure that you're setting your business up for success, and you're more so protecting yourself from any terrible situations that you can put yourself in that we see all the time here. We'll talk to you soon.